Hi, I'm Dr. Cheryl Meyer, and I'm down at the ocean. I am a psychologist, and I went to work this morning, and I just got the idea that I need to do, well, I don't need to, but I think it's important that I do a refresher course, like basically a 101. I've been doing this for a long time, and so it all makes sense to me, but sometimes we need to go back to the basics. It's important to go back to the basics so that you guys have an understanding of why are we doing this? Why do I have my YouTube channel? Why spend the time on the stuff that I'm spending the time on? And I don't have to convince you guys or anybody, but sometimes I'll have clients and they want to get better and they don't realize what's stopping them. And so it's my job to sort of help you see what's stopping you from, what's stopping my clients. But I'm going to speak in general here and really quickly because I want to head back out. So this is going to be dense information quickly. So basically, look, you have the ability to be conscious in your relationship with yourself. What happens is our parents teach us a level of consciousness. So if they're just like, this is unconscious, they say that 90% of how we're operating is subconscious until we learn how to bring that more conscious. But basically then your parents subconsciously are just loving you with the love that they knew. They're only giving you the capacity that they knew how to love with. And so they teach you to love at that level. So if they're loving you at, let's say, 20% out of 100, and you have the capacity to be more conscious about how your relationship is with yourself, then you have the ability to develop a higher level of consciousness, higher level of awareness of how to operate in this relationship with yourself so that you can have a better relationship with yourself. If you're thinking of, I've given this example to my clients before, if I'd say look outside of yourself for a second. If you think of a loving relationship, if you think of someone you want to date, do you want to date someone that is more conscious about how they operate towards you and takes responsibility for their own actions and wants to keep correcting and healing their old wounds so they don't keep projecting them on you? If you would like another person to be conscious and that's a more attractive person for you to date, then you can recognize that you also have a relationship within yourself, with yourself. And so, like, if I'm always getting up in the morning and bossing myself around and saying, you should be doing this and you should get this done today and here's your checklist and you're not worth anything unless you do this checklist, then I have a relationship with myself where I'm operating that way, but I'm also have the relationship of the other person who's getting the thumb down on them, getting those attacks and getting those, it's like an ego relationship. It's like a relationship of I use you and you use me. You better get this stuff done or I'm not going to have a good identity built up. And then I'm not here to build up your identity. Like, I just feel used by you. And so it's this relationship that you have with yourself where there's this part, if you're operating in ego, then this part of you feels like it's in lack and you're the person that has to be the means to all the good ends. Like, basically do this, do this, do that. And then I'm going to feel better about myself. And so that's your job. And if you're not doing that, then you're worthless and you're not being productive and you're not giving me what I want. And so what good are you for? This is how our world often operates. But here's the good part, is the antidote, is you can have a more conscious relationship with yourself that's expansive and full of love in your heart and presence and kindness, where you are like, namaste to yourself. Oh, see, that's where the sun keeps coming back in and wants to break in. My soul self sees your soul self and is like, I invite you to, let's say, get up and work out or do these things or whatever. It's an invitation. It's a conscious, loving relationship. It's one of trust and of worth, where when we're in that mentality that I described first, where it's you better get these things done for productivity, for me to feel good about myself, then it's like a superficial sort of relationship. You don't feel close to yourself. You don't know your authentic self. What's underlying that is there's a lie that's underlying that you're believing in a lie. The lie is that you're not worth. And what if I stop making myself do all these things, jump through all these hoops, perform, keep these masks on so I look good for other people, and I pretend to be this person for myself, the lie is that you're not worth. And so our parents could have felt inside of themselves that they weren't worth. And so they kept teaching you by their actions, you have to perform all these external things and then you'll get your worth, you'll earn your worth. And so I keep thinking of poker hands for some reason. That's what I was thinking of when I was walking. It's like when you play Texas Hold'em, right? And you have a pocket aces. You think you've got it, you know. I don't know what the odds are. Anyway. So, but someone else can have pocket nines, and a 9 comes out on the flop, and so they have 3 9s, and their hand is higher than yours. They're gonna win that hand, and I don't know, for some reason I was seeing Christ playing poker with us. This is just how my mind goes. And it's like he has the royal flush. He's a master. He's a master no matter what other things you think about Christ is. He knew how to live life, and he knew how to be aligned with love, and he knew how to be present with people, and he knew how to heal, and he knew when to speak and when not to speak, and when people were trying to trap him, and how to be wise. And so it's like, for me to align myself with Christ when he says, come and follow me, it's not follow me, and I've talked about this some in other videos, and it doesn't matter if you're spiritual or what your religion is, it's just this idea, if someone in your spiritual practice, you understand some kind of master who knows how to love well, who knows 100% of love, then to follow me is not the word follow in Greek, it's to come alongside me, join me on this path of higher consciousness love, of perfect love, of aligning with love, of having this light in you shining out. And namaste, my soul self sees and greets, bows to your soul self. So it's, I don't want to be just saying words. What I'm talking about is, here's where our limitation is we think we're trying to love that way, but we usually only give ourselves as much as our parents gave us. And so if they gave us 20% out of 100% love, and they taught us that's all that love is, this is 100%, then we just think, and we stay with the familiar. Familiar is like family. We stay with the familiar, and we stay giving that amount, only 20% of love. So, all right. What we learned from our parents, from their actions, is you're not worth having more consciousness for, having going in and discerning what is the truth. How can I treat this person with a higher love? Bring me a higher love. I recorded that song. It's like there's a little lizard. So we don't realize we're limiting ourselves. We're it's like we buy into this old idea that can't be more conscious for her, for him. What's that gonna do? All I need to do is make sure that I keep jumping through these hoops, and then I have worth, and then people will like me, and then I will like me, because we learn to base our worth on that. And it's like, well, what if you stopped making yourself do that stuff? I used to have a picture of Jabba the Hutt from Return of the Jedi. Like, I can't believe I couldn't remember that all of a sudden. Yeah. And so I used to have a picture of him on my refrigerator. It's, of all things, a little magnet, you know, because I had this idea that if I stopped trying to make myself eat all the healthy food or whatever, then I would just turn into like this slob thing, you know. And so it's like, if I kept imagining that and kept thinking you have to jump through these hoops, then it's like, where's the loving relationship? I'm just looking at myself like, you are my object, you know, you slave. I was going to say something else, but you know. So your job is just to make sure that I look good. And if you don't, then you're not worth anything. And if I stop making you this should, have to, whatever, then you're going to turn into this ugly thing. And it's like, what if you let go of that and you go, let's see what happens. What if I learn how to love this person that's underneath? What if I stop making her and I invite her? What if I find out that she was always worth taking care of and worth loving, and that when she gets into her authentic self, she starts making weird YouTube videos and like singing songs and playing the guitar and being her authentic self and being free and being confident and learning what it is to be herself, you know, and to feel her feelings and not hide those and all this stuff, you know. If our parents were in a fear mentality where, and of course they do this subconsciously, so it's not conscious, but if they were in a fear mentality where it's like, we better keep performing or our worth is in jeopardy, and you better keep performing or your worth is in jeopardy, they think they're equipping you by teaching you, jump through these hoops. This is how we make it in life. This is how we find our worth. And so you don't realize that underneath that was always this soul self that's like the spark of God, that was always worth loving, that just wants to be embraced. I was taking a class. What day is it today? That's a big question for right now, isn't it? What day is it? Today is today. Tomorrow is today. Yeah, the class was just yesterday. And the teacher was like, the instructor over Zoom, you know, was like, our wounded inner child doesn't want more theories. It just wants to be held. It wants to be loved. It wants to be cherished. And I was like, ah. And it's true. But you offer that holding when you stop treating yourself like an object that just has to jump through hoops, that one part of you has to boss around and one part of you has to jump through those hoops. You hug that inner child by teaching that part of you that you're worth loving, you're worth being present with. The more we do learn how to get in the now and how to love that part of us that was just pushed around and taught to bury itself in performance, the more there is like an inner embrace and affection. And hold on. All right, they're coming right towards me. That's funny. Bring the music, right? All right, I'll wrap this up. It's like, hear the music in your soul. Hear the music. There's some child part of you that just wants to be loved. If you don't, it's scary to go beyond what our parents did, but it's worth it. all of these videos are about learning how to offer yourself a consciousness. Sorry, I have an ant on me. A consciousness that your parents didn't know to offer you. If you would want that from a relationship outside of yourself, then it's important to identify how you're relating to yourself inside yourself and offer yourself like the bomb relationship, like the good one. I don't know. I was going to say a badass relationship, but just a loving relationship, a sweet relationship, a tender-hearted. Yes, there's accountability. Yes, there's a high goal of high love. But your worth isn't based on your performance. It's because you're worth that you give yourself good boundaries and you give yourself, I cherish you and I choose to respect you. I choose to honor you by not bossing you around and not making you a slave to a bunch of addictions. But the addictions happen because we feel shame, because we don't know this love, because we've been trying to perform and we didn't feel like we could perform. So we gave up and numbed ourselves because we weren't feeling the love. It's a vicious cycle until you learn how to bring love to that part of yourself. All right. I wish you love. One more thing. Here's the thing. Look. If our parents didn't give us presents and just their warm affection and love, then we learned by their actions, you are not worth presents. And so sometimes we think, oh, I just need to give myself this presence. Be present with yourself, be in the centered place of quiet in the now. Ground yourself, like I just talked about in my last video. But if we have in our minds, because of their actions, you're not worth presence, then we only give ourselves what we believe we're worth. So it's important that you change your understanding of your belief of your worth. When you realize it's not about making this truth come in, it's about realizing this truth that's already there. You are always worth it. I use this example of if you found a baby in a dumpster, you're not going to say, oh, if you're going to go to a good college, then you're worth me loving you. You love the child right now. Or if a child washes up on the beach, or you're on a deserted island, you're not going to, in a basket, The streets have no name. Place high on the desert where the streets have no name. This is perfect. This is what you need. Is you're going to a place where the streets have no name. You're going to an unfamiliar place, and we're scared to do that because we don't know. If we did that when we're a baby, then we think we're going to die. You can't do that really as a 2-year-old. And some part of you that didn't get this as a 2-year-old is still wanting it. And where the streets have no name, still burning down. When I go there, I'll go there with you. You're rescuing this part of yourself that needs you, that really needs you. So you're going there and you're finding that person that always was meant to be treated with worth. And how long do we want to wait for our parents, quote parents, to get it, to get that we're worth that? You show yourself your real worth. That's what I was saying. You unfold it. It's not about shoving in a new truth. It's about unfolding the truth that was always there. You discover that it was there by letting go of the pushing and by inviting and by seeing what happens. Why am I scared to invite myself to the good? To give myself a higher consciousness of relationship, to offer myself presence. Why am I waiting for everybody else to bring that to me? when I have the power to be present with myself right now. All right, that's enough. That's enough. Bye. Catch a wave.